Today we are at Checkered Tuning and we're finally giving our little GR Yaris a power up.
Because it's completely stock, it's best to keep most of the factory strategies and just get rid of the stuff that is stopping us from having fun, I suppose it is. This level is, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, this is the way they should have come from the factory. So.
Oh wow, okay, this is heaps different. So we bought this Yaris over 3.5 years ago. We got it as one of the initial batch in Australia. In that time I put suspension in it, done a few track days with it, and it's been my daily driver. And to this day, I love the car. I think it's great. It's not for everyone, but I like it. Yes, the seating position's a bit high, but I got used to it. I think it's a great car, but it did need a little bit more power, I reckon. And up to this time, an elegant tuning solution hasn't really been available, on a budget anyway. So today we brought the car down to Trent at Checkered Tuning. Trent's got huge experience with tuning all sorts of software and all sorts of different cars. As this is my daily driver, I didn't want to move away from the stock ECU, and I didn't want a Christmas tree on the dashboard, so to say. It has taken quite some time for an elegant tuning solution to come out. ECU Tech have recently released their race ROM features. So Trent, I did put this on the dyno a while ago.
Yep.
Standard it made about 160 kilowatts. The interesting thing was how Toyota are controlling the throttle up and down to control power up in the top end.
100%, yeah. So when we ran it up here as well, it was very similar results to your 160, which was good. Most new manufacturers now use a pretty interesting strategy to control power. Not only are they controlling boost, they're controlling target torque. So let's say they want to make 300 Newton meters, they'll be running 20 pounds of boost or what it is. And if it starts making too much, they'll actually shut the throttle. And that's what these do. These actually start shutting the throttle. And it's not unsurprising to see boosters say dead flat and getting a nice curve, but the throttle is actually shutting down to, I think on this one, on that 160 run, was down to 35%.
Yeah, so I think you said from about 52 or 50.
About 5,200 RPM, it drops down to 30%, and then it actually starts to open up again as it gets up top. And they're doing that purely to make the car feel smooth without a big boost change. So if you drop the boost, you get like massive changes in inertia, I suppose. Whereas the throttle, if you've still got the boost and you're slowing it slowly, you can make sort of fairly large changes without feeling it. And you generally don't feel
No, you don't, because it sounds like 100 to 35, someone might go, oh, that must have a horrible dead patch. You go, no, it doesn't at all. The engine feels smooth.
It just stops feeling as rapid for a second. It's literally just a slight slowing. Whereas if you were to drop the boost, it's like a kick in the guts. It's like, it stops. They literally do run everything based on torque request, which is where the pedal goes, and then torque demand. So these cars are very heavily sort of regulated temperature-wise. Exhaust temperature is a really big part of it. Charge temperature from the intake side. A lot of these cars have lots of like nanny maps in there to stop people from like just mashing it, let's say coming out of a roundabout and ending up backwards and stuff like that. So there's a lot of gear-based torque maps and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, the first thing you've got to do is fix all that sort of stuff.
Unlike most GR Yarises on the road, this one is actually mechanically 100% standard. To the exhaust intercooler, there has been nothing done to this car.
Well, Toyota did a good job. It's surprising you can put really big intakes on it. Everything makes a difference, but not a huge difference. Like you put a dump pipe on it and it makes a difference. You put an exhaust on it, it makes a difference. But if you do all of them, then it can add up to a certain amount. But even stock, you can nearly get to within sort of 10 or 15 kilowatts of the total end result completely standard. So
today it's added about 30 kilowatts. But the biggest increase is probably that mid-range torque.
Mid-range torque is huge. I think it's like 50 Newton meters or something out of the 350 it picks up. And it's way sooner. I think we're talking at 3 or 3.5 is where you get a big kick.
That's where the butt dyno is going to feel it.
Oh, it should feel like a different car. And we do still keep all the factory safety. So look, if you do get up it all the time, you are going to slowly feel some degradation in power because it's still got the stock intercooler on it. It's got the stock exhaust and cats, and you do need to protect all that sort of stuff. There has to be some sort of safety built in. So if you are caning it on a 45-degree day, your first pull might be really good, but your 6th or 7th pull, it's going to pull a little bit of power out of it because it's not an idiot. It knows.
Yeah, and that would happen obviously if you did a track day in hot weather.
Yeah, exactly
You're
right.
You're on it for minutes at a time. So.
Yeah, and you look, your times should still be way better, but they're not going to be as good as what they would be on a 25-degree day.
The last time I looked at this, it made about, I think it was 21 or 23 peak. I think by red line it had dropped to 14.
Yeah,
so is it still doing something like that?
It's very similar. My head's stuck still in absolute mode from being in the ECU, so I'm just working the numbers in my head as we do it. But yeah, so most of the gains relate back to our torque request maps and what is actually allowed. We tend to just fill them out so that all the gears allow that full torque delivery for all the way up. Anywhere from about 5200, the factory map tells you to drop torque delivery, whereas we tell it to try and hold on for longer. So in essence, boost does hold a little bit better, but we're only running 1 or 2 pounds more in total than what it was before, but making way more than 1 or 2 pounds worth of power, if you know what I mean. It's all coming from the getting rid of all those nanny maps, I suppose.
Yeah, so it's actually not like pushing the turbo extra hard to make this.
No, like it's literally at the end of the day, it shouldn't really affect it. I mean, if we wanted to, we could put way more boost into it, but these engines are very close to valve float and all that sort of stuff. So we can run a whole lot more boost in the mid-range and then let it drop at the top.
Yeah.
But again, we've got a standard cooler, so we can't cheat there. So if you put a big cooler on it, yeah, you can shed some heat, get all that boost in and then drop it back in. But because it's completely stock, it's best to keep most of the factory strategies and just get rid of the stuff that is stopping us from having fun, I suppose it is. Just like get all the good maps happening and then leave the safety maps the way it is. Like it's always best to make the most power you can without having to run heaps of boost, especially on stock components. So.
Another feature of the ECU tech is also the map switching.
Yeah, so this will now have up to 4 maps. So some customers want to try the flat foot shifting. So it's got flat foot shifting and it's also got launch control. So we can mix and match where they are on the map. So if you go to a track day, flat foot shifting is not on all the time. And you go do let's say you go do a motor Carter day and it's on a wet skid pan and you want to clutch kick and stuff like that. You can't do that with no lift to shift because it'll think you're trying to do a flat foot shift.
There's also an anti-lag feature, isn't it?
There is a rolling anti-lag feature as well. Yeah, I forgot all about that as well.
But I don't think 190 kilowatts is going to do too well at the roll racing. So.
There's a few people who said you got to be careful with gearboxes in these, and then there's other guys that are having no issues with them at the track. So the rolling anti-lag one, I'll be honest, I'd totally forgotten about it. But
to be honest, I don't think it's a feature I would be using.
They come up good, especially for something with 0 mods. It still keeps all its normal niceties, yet just does everything better.
So you've seen with some other Yaris's that have come in here that I think one had a intercooler, it had an exhaust, I think an intake, and they ran what, about 205 or something, or 210?
Yeah, up 205 to 210. Anywhere from sort of here, I say, yeah, look, it's cool to put a cooler on. It'll probably go 205 and it'll be pretty consistent there. If you don't want to do much more than, and the exhaust will add a little bit, but we're not going to get to that 215. But
and then the snowball happens. The
camshafts, they're coming in already with cams and valve springs and stuff like that, and it is a definite sliding scale. Where it is at the moment is where I tell most people to kind of go to because it's pretty easy. It's still very OEM.
It's really
in
good
its operation.
Bang for buck too.
Yeah, exactly right. Like you don't have to buy a whole lot of components, and you get really good results. So whereas everything from here is a sliding scale of cost versus result. Yeah. So a percentage of ethanol in it makes a big difference, but then again, you're going to go straight up to where you're going to get valve flow.
Yes.
This level is, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like this is the way they should have come from the factory.
Yeah.
So
it's probably on par with a GR Corolla now, is it?
It is actually.
Actually, I keep saying that because GR Corollas make more power, but I always say they're 200 kilos heavier.
Well, there you go.
So it all evens itself out on the road, I think.
It'd be interesting to see how they bring it in too. Like a lot of manufacturers are so scared, I think, of giving people that initial hit
Yeah.
that you might find that it's still 50 Newton meters and 30 kilowatts up in the bottom end. So their peak power might be better, but generally Nissan and Toyota, they don't give you any of that mid-range, that hit. I don't know why. I think they're just scared of people driving in the wet. I don't know.
Now, Trent, you tune all sorts of brands of ECUs, new, old, standalone, obviously the flash tuning. If you're in Melbourne and you need a tuner, hit up Checkered Tuning and Trent's your man.
Cheers. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you get to have a bit of fun in it. They're a cool car and they come up well.
A great way you can support Full Boost is to purchase some of our merch. We've got many different styles on offer, so what are you waiting for? Grab one today at shop.fullboost.com.au.
Oh wow, okay, this is heaps different. Actually, this hits heaps harder.